In recent centuries, the Catholic Church has survived wars, persecutions, and revolutions. But what if now, before our eyes, it was facing its greatest challenge? Could the faith that has shaped empires, built cathedrals, and influenced civilizations be on the verge of irreversible collapse? But does this mean the end of the Catholic Church? Could an institution more than 2,000 years old really disappear? Or are we witnessing a transformation that few understand? The answer is not as simple as it seems. The truth is that, throughout history, the Church has faced critical moments. In the 16th century, the Protestant Reformation movement divided Western Christianity, causing the Church to lose millions of believers. In the 18th century, the French Revolution tried to eradicate its influence. Even in the 20th century, communist regimes in several countries tried to silence it. Even so, the institution resisted. So why should it be any different now? Today, a new phenomenon is underway. Historically, Catholic countries such as France, Italy, and Brazil are seeing an alarming drop in the number of followers. In some regions, churches are being closed due to a lack of faithful, and priestly vocations are falling dramatically. Many leave not because of persecution, but by choice, questioning doctrines, scandals, or simply leaving the faith. If we look at the scriptures, we see that this is no surprise. In Matthew 24:10-12, Jesus warned, "At that time many will be offended, betray and hate one another. Many false prophets will arise and deceive many. And because iniquity will increase, the love of many will grow cold." Are we seeing this prophecy fulfilled? Let's take a look at the challenges facing the Church, understand what history teaches us about moments of crisis, and find out if this is, in fact, the end of the Catholic Church or just another chapter in its long history. The Catholic Church has faced countless crises over the centuries, but none of them compare to what we see today. In its early days, Christians were brutally persecuted by the Roman Empire. In the 4th century, with the conversion of Emperor Constantine, the Church went from being persecuted to dominant. Catholicism became the official religion of the empire, and its power expanded. But this dominance was not always unquestioned. In the 16th century, Martin Luther challenged papal authority, initiating the Protestant Reformation. The result? Millions of believers left the Church, giving rise to various Christian denominations. In the 18th century, the French Revolution tried to eliminate its influence by confiscating land and abolishing clerical privileges. In the 19th and 20th centuries, secular ideologies and totalitarian regimes sought to weaken it. However, despite these threats, the Church has always bounced back. Now, in the 21st century, the challenges are different. Secularization is advancing rapidly in Europe and the Americas. In traditionally Catholic countries such as Italy, France, and Spain, churches are emptying. According to data from the Pew Research Center, the number of Catholics in Latin America has fallen from 90% to around 57% in just a few decades. In Brazil, for example, in 1980, more than 90% of the population identified themselves as Catholic. Today, that figure is below 50%. What is causing this drop? Several factors contribute. Scandals involving religious leaders, cultural changes, and a generation that is increasingly distancing itself from religious traditions. In addition, the advance of technology and social networks has created a world where faith has to compete with countless distractions and ideologies. What do you think? Are we seeing the end of the Catholic Church? Or is this just another period of crisis? Leave your opinion in the comments, like the video, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the continuation of this analysis. Despite this decline, the Church still remains the largest Christian institution in the world, with over 1 billion followers. But for how long? The signs point to an inevitable transformation, but will it survive this new era? To better understand this question, we need to look at what the Bible says about apostasy and the abandonment of faith in the last times. The crisis in the Catholic Church is not an isolated event, but a process of transformation that has been going on for centuries. The decline of the faithful, the loss of political influence, and the increasing secularization of the modern world raise a fundamental question: are we witnessing a temporary change or the beginning of the end of this institution that has spanned generations? Factors contributing to the decline. Factor 1. Secularization and the rise of atheism. In many parts of the world, especially in Europe and North America, religion is losing ground to a more secular view of life. In countries like France and the United Kingdom, the number of people who identify themselves as having no religion now exceeds that of Catholics. This phenomenon is also visible in Latin America, where Protestantism and secularism have grown exponentially. Factor 2. Scandals and loss of credibility. Cases of corruption and abuse within the Church have had a major negative impact. The Vatican has faced serious crises in recent years, and many faithful have turned away due to controversies involving leadership and the lack of transparency in some decisions. The impact of these scandals has caused a significant part of the followers to question the authority of the Church. Factor 3. Social changes and new values. The modern world has brought new ethical and moral issues that challenge traditional principles. Topics such as marriage, family, and sexual behavior are approached differently in contemporary societies. While the Church seeks to maintain its teachings, part of the population sees these doctrines as outdated and seeks new forms of spirituality. Factor 4. Lack of vocations and reduction of the clergy. The number of priests and nuns has fallen dramatically. In some dioceses, churches are closed because there aren't enough priests to conduct masses. This has a direct impact on the Church's ability to remain active in the communities. Loss of political and cultural influence factor. For centuries, the Catholic Church exerted a powerful influence on governments and culture. Today, this influence is waning. The separation of church and state is a reality in much of the Western world, reducing the institution's power to influence political decisions. Consequences of this crisis. Church closures. In European countries, historic temples are being sold or converted into museums and commercial spaces. Change in religious profile. The rise of evangelical churches and the growth of Eastern religions are reflections of this shift. Decrease in the number of faithful. The younger generation, in particular, is showing less interest in Catholic practice. The connection with biblical prophecies. The Bible warns us of times of apostasy and abandonment of the faith. Several sacred passages mention that in the last days there would be a spiritual cooling and a mass departure from Christian teachings. 1 Timothy 4:1. The Spirit expressly says that in the last times some will abandon the faith to follow deceiving spirits and doctrines of demons. Matthew 24:10-12. At that time many will be offended, betray and hate one another. Many false prophets will arise and deceive many, and because iniquity multiplies, the love of many will grow cold. 2 Thessalonians 2:3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for this shall not come to pass, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. These verses point to a scenario of spiritual decay and distancing from the truth. But is this a definitive sign of the end of the Catholic Church, or just a period of trial? Can the Church resist? Despite all these challenges, the Catholic Church is an institution that has reinvented itself over the centuries. Even at the most critical moments, it has managed to adapt and remain present. Pope Francis has promoted reforms and tried to bring the Church closer to the new generations. It remains to be seen whether these changes will be enough to contain the advance of secularism, or in the coming years, the Church will face the need to reposition itself in order to remain relevant. History shows that this institution has already gone through deep crises and survived. But the big question remains: will this be just another challenge or the definitive decline? Given everything we've explored, one question remains: is there a way out of the crisis facing the Catholic Church? Despite the challenges, history shows that this institution has always found ways to reinvent itself and survive turbulent times. A possible solution would lie in a true renewal, both in its structure and in its message. The world has changed, and the way of transmitting the faith also needs to evolve. This doesn't mean abandoning the fundamentals of Christianity, but finding new strategies to connect with a society that values transparency, active participation, and a discourse that is relevant to today's dilemmas. Furthermore, a return to the essence of Christ's message could be the way to rekindle the faith of millions. Jesus himself warned of difficult times, but he also taught that the true church is not made up of temples, but of people who live their faith authentically. In Matthew 16:18, he declared, "I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." This means that, regardless of crises, Christ's church will never be completely destroyed, because its foundation lies in faith and not just in the institution. But is the Catholic Church willing to change? Will the leaders recognize the need to adapt, or will they remain stuck in a model that is becoming less and less effective? And do you think there is hope for this institution, or are we already witnessing its definitive end? Leave your opinion in the comments, like this video, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future content.